Okay, y'all, here it is, Hunter Elliott, and I'm over at Candy's place, and she's pulled up this randomized video because she liked the reaction videos we did. So she's pulled this up. She asked me, and I'm going in it cold, so we'll see what's what. Very high speed, low drag, Funker Tactical. This little hottie hole. Why I don't trust a 1911 with my life. One U.S. Marine's opinion. The title of this video should be Why I Don't Understand the 1911 for the life of me. One U.S. Marine's opinion that was trained with a Beretta M9. I know
Guys, I
this
want
is
to talk to you about my own
in
personal feelings on the 1911 pistol. This doesn't apply to everybody. It's my personal preference from me carrying a gun and me selecting a defensive firearm. The 1911 does not meet my standards for me personally to carry a defensive, or 1911 as a defensive.
So he says it doesn't meet his standards. If it were me, I would, and I'm sure he's going to do it, I would have at first laid out what my standards were for my, concealed carry gun. So let's continue.
Defensive gun. There are people out there that can handle this gun
combat
and do
weapons master instructor.
Great things with it. And when I say handle and do great things, I'm talking more about maintenance and user serviceability type things. And they have the time and the ability and the knowledge to maintain this gun properly. I don't like the fact, starting at, we'll say number 3, limited.
Okay, first he's talked about serviceability and maintaining it. Here's the deal, y'all. A 1911 style pistol, a government model, OACP, Commander, what have you, any of that family of handguns requires no more or less maintenance than any other handgun on the planet, be it Glock, HK, what have you. And I've actually written articles about this. The very vast majority of semi-automatic handguns today have more in common with the 1911 than they don't, such as the tilting lock breech barrel, having the recoil spring under the barrel. All those are John Browning inventions, and all those were featured in the beginning with before the 1911, but made their way into the 1911. The very vast majority of semi-automatics share a lot of those features. So if the 1911 was inherently unreliable, then all semi-automatic handguns would be inherently unreliable. Another thing I'm going to point out, he's saying 4 reasons I don't trust the 1911. Now understand this, there is a blue million of manufacturers out there making 1911s. And about half of them think they're smarter than John Browning, and they have tried to redesign and redo the 1911 and made it worser. Worser, for the record, is worse than worse. So anyhow, bear that in mind. He should be speaking about a specific manufacturer. That's like saying 4 reasons I don't like cars. So anyway, my apologies.
Magazine capacity.
Oh yeah, limited magazine capacity. My apologies. I wanted to speak about this. Okay, so concealed carry, defensive carry, the chances are, God forbid, or God willing, you will never ever have to need your defensive sidearm. And if you do, God forbid, in the United States, the average round count for a civilian defensive shoot, I believe, is like 2 or 3 rounds. And it occurs inside 20 feet. So limited magazine capacity, I think, is a bit of a moot point. And if it is, carry a spare magazine and understand how to reload. But anyway, I think this is ridiculous. Limited magazine capacity, but let's see what old boy has to say.
1911 single stack. You're sitting at about 7 rounds. You got 1 in the chamber. That's it. And I know people say all the time, "Well, I carry a 45 because they don't make a 46."
I hate when they say I carry a 45 because I don't make a 46, and a lot of people say that to try to make people who do prefer the 45 auto out to be idiots. So he's touting on this single stack magazine, but understand with that single stack magazine comes that beautiful ergonomics the 1911 is known for. And all that single stack magazine making that pistol slim is going to allow you to conceal it easily. Plus, like I just said, it's got wonderful ergonomics that help with your natural point of aim. So instead of worried about magazine capacity, the first damn thing you need to be worried about is getting accurate rounds down range. Magazine capacity is secondary to being able to hit what you're aiming at.
You know, it happens all the time. 45's got that knockdown power, you know, and all that stuff. Okay, we should probably pick up some kind of book and read about ballistics a little bit. Okay, just not going to knock anybody down, not going to happen. My next biggest issue with the 1911 is, you know, what some people would consider a feature on the gun. It is a feature on a 1911 or a single action gun in itself, is the safety lever.
Safety lever, nitpicking here, it's called a thumb safety. And if he's going to complain about having a thumb safety and he's a master weapons instructor or what have you, all that is training. If you want to operate any kind of piece of equipment, be it a 1911, a Glock, or an excavator, you just train on it. How hard is that?
That safety, that thumb safety right there, I do not care to have a safety on a defensive handgun. Having a safety on a defensive handgun, I see in students come out to class that are well trained, have put a lot of effort into spending time on the range, they're good shooters, they'll come out and they'll be doing great all day long with that 1911 or that other gun they're using that has a safety on it, be it a Beretta or whatever it is. But every one of these classes also have an inoculation stress effect. You know, we do some things that create some psychological and physiological stress. And when that happens, I can almost on call tell you what's about to happen when that gun comes out of the holster. And what I see is the weapon's unsafe, the gun's presented to the target, and it's attempted to fire multiple times.
I'm going to call bullshit on that. In so much as he used the words well-trained. Now, understand that a lot of people who shoot for a living shoot a 1911 style or a 2011 style pistol, as well as a lot of law enforcement and military still right now today carry a 1911 style pistol. So if you train, if you are well trained, then you have began to cultivate that muscle memory, that your natural instincts of draw, swipe the thumb safety off as you're presenting the gun before your front sight is ever on target. So, but anyhow, let's.
And then they realize, oh, I need to put it on fire. I see it so much that tells me it could possibly be a training thing. Can we train past it? I think we could.
Okay, well then what's the problem?
Is there a lot of people out there that are going to train past it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
So that's
me personally.
So he's talking about, now he just said, is that something that could be trained past? And he said yes. Is there some people that's not going to train past that? Well then, that's not the fault of the damn gun. That's the person that wants to carry the 1911 but has decided to not put in the time, effort, and energy to become proficient with it. It ain't like you can just pick up a damn Glock and never shot a handgun before and you're instantly a master of it. All handguns have their own nuances. All handguns have their own particular manual of arms, and whatever you choose, you need to have a modicum of proficiency with that platform before you ever consider carrying it defensively.
No, I'm not. I'm going to select a firearm that already supports what we see in dash cam video, what we see from all the evidence out there, and what I've already done in my life. I choose a gun that I know is going to work when I draw that gun, put sights on target, pull trigger. And lastly, this is the one that everybody gets angry about.
And here's a little something about the thumb safety in the 1911. Little history lesson here for all y'all. When John Browning designed that pistol, it did not have a thumb safety on it. It was designed solely with the grip safety. When he presented it to the U.S. Army for trials, the U.S. Army said, hey, we need some sort of thumb safety on this pistol to render the trigger inert as well as keep the slide in battery, because in the event that cavalryman needed to reholster his weapon so he can gain or maintain control of his horse, then he could safely put that thumb safety on to reholster. So that is the original thinking behind that thumb safety. Believe it or not, when this gun was adopted in 1911, we were still fighting on horseback.
Is reliability. I see more problems with these guns than anything else in the class.
Bullshit and apple butter. It's a machine, okay? It has no choice but to work correctly if it was built correctly. Now, I stated earlier, he's talking about the 1911. Okay, give me what manufacturer are you talking about? Kimber 1911s? Yeah, I'll buy that because Kimber has known quality control issues. They have known problems with their guns. But you want to talk about something like a Colt, a Dan Wesson, a Ruger? It's not going to be any more or less reliable than any other handgun on the market. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier about a lot of semi-automatic handguns share more with the 1911 than they don't. So if the 1911 was inherently flawed, inherently unreliable, A, it would have never made it through the trials for the U.S. Army to adopt, and B, all other handguns with those same features would be equally unreliable.
I see them whenever I'm using them, I run into more issues with 1911s. Now, if you get a perfectly set up 1911, and there's some companies out there that do this stuff right, and they make great, reliable 1911s. And then you've got some out there that aren't so great, but have a good name. They're better for buying than they are for shooting. That happens too in the 1911 world, if you didn't know that.
Okay, so he literally just admitted what I said. Yep, there are some companies out there that make these guns that are perfectly reliable, and then there's some that don't. But he's blanket blaming the platform. So, right? Am I crazy?
And then you have times where magazines just don't get along well with guns. The Beretta 92 is a perfect example of a bad magazine happening to a pretty decent gun. So those are things we come into, but all those issues, if you know how to work on this gun, service your gun, inspect your gun, you have the time and the money to put quality parts in these things and take care of this gun.
You have time and the money to put quality parts in this gun. So essentially, you're going to go out and you're going to buy your Les Baer 1911. Then you need to go to gunsmithing school for 4 years and get a master's degree in gunsmithing and then rebuild that gun from the ground up, right? I mean, is this what he's saying? Why not just buy a damn nice gun to begin with and you don't have to fool with it? Colt, Dan Wesson, Ruger. These are 3 1911s that are going to be reliable out of the box that you don't need to do no parts changing. Unless you're like, oh, I want to put on fancier stocks or I want to change these sights. But, if you want to go with something bulletproof, buy a damn Dan Wesson 1911. All the internal parts are made out of steel. There's no MIM, there's no cast. So you don't have to do nothing but buy it, put damn bullets in it, and shoot the damn thing.
I know a lot of folks who are very successful at shooting in 1911, and almost every round they put down range is through a 1911. And their gun, they have close to 100% success ratio, at least close to what I have in my guns, or if not better or somewhere on par with it. I'm not saying the gun can't be reliable. I'm saying I personally do not have the time, or I don't want to spend the time to make this gun.
He doesn't have the understanding. It's not, he just said, I don't want to know. I don't want to understand the platform. I just want to hate on it because I can create this video and it's going to make a bunch of hubbub on YouTube and I get a bunch of clicks and likes. Not unlike what I'm doing right now. But, he is, I'm watching this for the first time and he's contradicting himself quite often. Oh, yeah, I know guys with 1911s that run 100% or near 100% and they're great and there's no problem and they're very accurate. Well, then what the hell, man?
And keep going and do what I need to do to keep this 1911 reliable. So I choose a firearm that's going to work every time I pull that gun out of the trigger. I don't have to worry about tuning extractors. I don't have to get on the internet and argue about internal and external extractors. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I have a gun that works, and it also probably costs half the price of this right here, in case it goes to the court system sometime.
All right, and that one thing about in case it goes to the court system. Look, I hear you. Buy a cheap gun that you don't like, so if something happens to it and it goes to the court system and it gets gone, you're not out nothing. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But what if you buy that Glock and you're like, look, I don't really like this pistol. It's not ergonomic. I can't shoot it well. But I'm going to carry it because if God forbid I'm in a shooting and the police sees it, I'm not out anything. Well, if you can't properly run that Glock because you don't care for it, and they get there and they find your dead ass body there with that Glock and slide lock, and all your rounds were downrange and not on target, what difference does it make? Get a gun that you like, can train with, and are proficient with. Damn the cost. What kind of price are you going to put on your life? So that way, if something bad happens to it and you're comfortable with that gun, you can put accurate rounds down range with it, and they take it, so what? Go buy another one. They make them every damn day. So, watch this video. There's Candy Noodle where she's grinning like a billy goat eating briars. But, I feel like this guy, every point he made, he
So once again, this is my
himself.
opinion on why I have chosen to not carry the 1911 or choose it as a defensive handgun for myself. I'm interested in what guns you carry, and if you do love the 1911 and you carry it every day, and what kind of success you've had with it on the range, let us know in the comments. I'm very interested in seeing it and having a discussion here. Again, I'm Daniel Shaw, and thanks for watching.
All right, Daniel. Well, here's the deal, fella. I am 50 years old, and I spent some time in the Marine Corps, and I was a rifle coach, and I have taken a lot of classes, and I have taught a lot of classes, and I have carried a 1911 in some form or matter since I was 21 years old. And now I can tell you this honestly, I have stuck to really most of my life 2 brands. First it was Colt, and now Dan Wesson and Colt. Those are the 2 brands that I've stuck with the most. Here in the past, dozen years, I've also kind of got into some Ruger 1911s. And, I run with a lot of people. I'm friends with 1911 tuner John Travis. He's got a couple of 1991 A1s with, 100,000 rounds through the original slide and receiver. So the problem with the 1911 is everybody makes one, and half the people that make them feel like they're smarter than John Browning. And that's evident in, he just said magazine capacity. Don't try to go out there and get a 48 round double stack single feed magazine for your damn 1911 that ain't gonna work. Get a Checkmate 7 round dimpled follower with the hybrid lips, just like John Browning designed, except the feed lips are a little shorter to allow for chambering of like rounds that will release off the follower sooner, like semi-wad cutters. And 7 round dimpled follower from Checkmate are perfect. Buy 100 of them and change the mag springs every couple years, and you'll be fine. Buy a quality 1911 Colt, Dan Wesson, Ruger, take it out, run 1,000 rounds to the damn thing to make sure it's good to go, become proficient, take some classes, and prove this cat wrong. Obviously, he's guessing and making statements that he's not completely has confidence in because he's contradicted himself a whole lot. And I'm really dragging on. So I apologize. This is a subject that is very dear to me, and I feel like this is just clicky bait bullshit. So my apologies. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you hate the 1911? If you do, I don't give a damn because I don't. But, what do you think I'm off base? You got any opinions? Let me know. Good, bad, right, or wrong. I appreciate it. Y'all stay straight. Be careful.